Good evening. So this evening I'm going to be sharing Ursula's Pendant and talking about a few observations I've made on YouTube and the philosophy of posting videos and creator reasons for doing so, etc. Coming from various coaches that are on YouTube, and a few things that I noticed weren't being really addressed, and thought I'd put it out there for consideration. So here comes Ursula. So this is a piece I made back in pre-2020, maybe 2018, 2019. It's been a while. And this was in the early days of my pewter experiments. One of the first 10 pieces that I cast. It's actually 2 separate pieces, and there's a further description of it on my other YouTube channel, the art only channel. So this piece is about 14 inches tall, 7 inches wide, and it comes off the base, the pendant itself. You can see the hole at the top. That's where the necklace or rope holds the pendant. This is a ceremonial piece that Ursula wears from time to time. It was presented to her. The base is a life cast of a vertebra I found up north on Agate Beach in Northern California. So that's 1-to-1 scale. There's no shrinkage in the way that I cast pewter because I pour directly into the mother mold. So there's no lost wax or anything like that. No reduction in scale. And then the back of the piece, because I didn't cast it vertically, was something I salvaged. And I went back in by hand and added all those elements with soldering and dremeling various setting voids for objects. I did some of that on the front too with the buffalo teeth, the turquoise, and the crystal ball at the very top is being held in on 3 points, the beaks of the hummingbirds, which were pre-existing objects that were in my pewter hoard. And then there's a nest that I fabricated. You can see it gets coming around at the very top. There's like a vertical cylinder spear point. That's the 3rd point, and the sphere rolls around, so it's not completely static. There's a moonstone, turquoise, geode, some tiger's eye, shark's teeth, an old school Dungeons and Dragons gate in the middle of the back. That was also a pre-existing object, a 1 of 1. I only found one of those gates in tens of thousands of objects, of which I've mainly a good, I would say 95%, I've melted down into pewter ingots to cast these pieces. That's another story, which I may have already told in the studio page. Happy the way it turned out ultimately, because I was able to do something creative with the back of the piece. I cast it horizontal, so there was some air trapped, and the detailing in the back of the original mold did not come out. So I did something else with the backside of it. The bones, the two top bones, they're from the same beach that I found the vertebra. Different discovery site, though. The vertebra was sort of a standalone object on the beach. And then I believe the long bones that ultimately carry the diagonal weight of the piece are deer bones that I found up here in the foothills of California. And all that has been integrated into the large vertebra by hand, dremeling, setting it, and then soldering the clamps, so to speak. So Ursula is a nanny to Cyclopean orphans. Not a super in-depth story around her, simply that she exists, and that's one of her tasks that she has set herself to be devoted to. And this is something that was given to her in her honor. So I'm going to switch back over and keep going with the video. I'm going to hop up and turn off the rotating situation and the camera, and we'll go forward. I'll be right back. So something that I wanted to cover tonight, and that is making a profit by YouTube. And I don't mean a monetary profit, more of a personal profit, because I feel like people, and rightly so, are desperate financially in many ways, and that's a pathological condition of capitalist centric America. And any side hustle quickly becomes a kind of exploited venue, and I think the exploitation comes through hope, and if you do this, this will happen. And I'm not going to go through a list of folks selling snake oil and all that. It's more of a focus around what can you do to always make a profit for yourself emotionally, mentally, just so that your mental health isn't dependent on expectation and hope. I feel like hope and expectation and affirmations, I think they're great in moderation, but ultimately it can become a kind of drug as well, where one greater hope will replace a lesser hope that was never fulfilled. So the same hope just keeps getting greater and greater levels of encouragement, irregardless of the results that it truthfully has at the end of the day or the month. depending on how long you've been making efforts. So this bit of advice is not going to dig down forensically into the exploitation cabal of various quote coaches, influencers, etc. It's going to be an existential no lose bit of advice, and that is that there's your career and your skill set, and then there's you, what you like, no matter how small. It could be putting together plastic models, playing checkers with your friends, your dog, reading books, certain movies, certain observations that you've made daily, even complaints. A sort of your camaraderie side. And I would like to put some positive suggestions out there, and that is either make a second channel that covers only things that bring you joy, things that when you share them, you feel a sense of, like, not necessarily purpose at the onset, but that during and at the end of the sharing, a certain purpose has been fulfilled. It's come full circle in a good way. And you sort of exhale and you feel that something has been completed or created. That's very different than doing something that you think you ought to do, or you have to do, or something that's connected to expectation, where behind the curtains of expectation, you're thinking, well, this may not work. And so there's a mixture of inspiration and desperation, and possibly a kind of resentment, because it could just all collapse and not work at all. Or it's on a different timeline of success than you imagine it is. And some people quit too soon, perhaps, and don't give the cocoon enough time to figure itself out. Or they simply effort for a long time, nothing occurs, and it's ultimately a dead end, and they move on. That's a kind of truth as well. But that death or dead end also becomes fodder for something else. So there's tough love lessons and simply love lessons, I feel. So the idea is always make a profit. So I have my original channel, Michael Angel Studios, is been around a long time, and it's sort of has been hibernating and not getting much traffic. And so I'm investing in both, the art only channel and then this political analysis channel, and also a resistance channel devoted to pushing against all forms of fascism, 1%ism, elitism, classism, racism, and anything that has to do with inequality or injustice around generosity and the social fabric being manipulated and dumbed down by dubious psyches out there in the world that are ultimately ancestral inheritances that have not been addressed on a mental health level or psychological level or even on an intellectual level to be the hollow things they are. And so within this resistance channel, there's other things, of course, poetry, art, things that make my existence what it is. And I would encourage people to, if you can't make or don't want to make a second channel, to simply create some videos that are more holistic, let's say, for lack of a better word, that include other parts of yourself than just simply feeding or hooking a particular venue of people or clique of people. There's another word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it just yet. It's probably going to come to me in the middle of another thought. Niche, there it is. A certain niche group, because in a sense, you're catering, you're hoping, and that's fine. That there's nothing wrong with that. We also morph into other versions of ourselves that we would never dream were available until we have certain desires and ambitions, and then we exercise those desires and ambitions, and we shed skins monthly, yearly, however it works for you. But my main focus is just simply giving you some advice so that you can keep a little bit for yourself, be successful before any results externally come to you as a sort of extra credit. Do something within your video that is guaranteed to satisfy you and give you a sense of closure and completion, and be a kind of legacy heirloom that you put out there. It could just be something as simple as reading a paragraph from a book that is one of your favorite books, or sharing a snippet of a family video, or a day at the park with your dog, or someone else's dog, and something that brings you a sense of satisfaction, like writing in a diary of sorts. And that's pretty much it. I feel like people can get kind of locked into being utilitarian psyches, where their psyche or their mind has agreed reluctantly or expectantly to be a commodity of expectation or hope. And yet there's no guarantee that that stock investment, let's call it, is going to have any returns whatsoever, or at least not the returns that your expectation meter is gauging it as it should be. So this strategy that I'm speaking about will buttress and guarantee that you don't feel like at the end of an experiment, you're basically creating an echo inside of something hollow, that you've got some substance to dwell upon, and know that you did it, that you put it out there, and that you're sharing it. And ultimately, connection is what people come to YouTube to do, whether it is in the form of a recorded image of another person, or a live broadcast, or even a video itself that's not even a person. It could just simply be the spirit of a video that becomes uh, a kind of digital sentient being that's delivering an emotional investment or triggering a response, uh, like watching a baby hippo video. That video is a kind of a kind of magic in a way. You're seeing something you would never see your whole life, and there it is, and you're experiencing it several degrees away from actual what it would be like if you were there in person, but nonetheless, you're still experiencing it. You're getting something that you would never have had in the context of that thing. So there's stuff going on, real magic occurring, and you can do the same for someone and ultimately yourself by giving a part of yourself that simply comes natural, that's intuitive, and frame it intentionally. I mean, I think that flippantly just goofing around depends on what of course, what the context is. That may be fine, but ultimately, I would just suggest to do it in a framework. Like, be very well, maybe not very, but be alert that that's your intention and this is what you're doing, and then do it, and be sincere. It's going to take some practice. It doesn't come natural for everyone to share something private or personal. But if YouTube or experimentation is going to be your venue, then I feel like you might as well give it your best try across the board, rather than just one pie slice. So that's it for this video for tonight. Thank you for supporting the channel. Like and subscribe if you would, please. Share the channel, and till we meet again. Good night or good morning.